Okay, we're about to go flyering into the general public with Viscera and Chris. Chris is sober.
Yeah, I'm clean.
He's clean. He's been
I'm on the 12 steps.
Ever since you died.
Yeah.
Ever since I died, it's
Still
been
a
remarkably
twat.
clean.
Hi and welcome to the second episode of UK Web Series, and I'm here at MCM Expo with the team of Bloody Mary show. Welcome Darren, creator and producer, and Vicky,
Hello.
director. How are you guys?
Good. Yeah.
Oh, tickety-boo, can't complain.
Well, MCM Expo, we're here. It's obviously a huge event for all things gaming, TV, film. It's I think the largest pop culture event, and we've now finally got recognition for web series here at MCM Expo.
Frigging time.
How's it been from that point of view?
You can bleep this if I swear, yeah? Okay, it's been marvellous. No, I think it's really great that sort of, they've taken a chance with web series for this time. I know that Paul, who organised it, was very nervous about the whole thing, but I think it's been a great success.
It's been really interesting. Yeah. It's about time, as Darren says, that that web series gained a lot more recognition and a bit more publicity and so forth. And we were sandwiched between Simon's Cat and the Underwater Realm. So it's kind of Simon's Cat,
Mega
Underwater
popular.
Realm,
Underwater Realm, mega
Bloody
budget.
Mary in the middle. Yes, but
The
so
abandoned stepchild.
so it was an interesting juxtaposition. But yeah, it's been fun.
I mean, Expo is just thousands of fans. I mean, they're just here hungry just to learn about stuff. And of course, we had the panel which featured the Bloody Mary show. How was that interacting with fans, like face to face?
It was 20 minutes of cold sweat. No, I can't actually remember anything I came out with. I'm like a clockwork toy in these situations. You just wind the key and just watch me go. I saw people in the audience who I could connect with, and I connected to those people. Some people were there because they just wanted to sit down. They got bad backs. But we kind of got them on our side. And so I think overall, the feedback was great. And when we tried to involve the audience, especially we threw postcards into the audience, and Liz Webster came in character as Viscera, which was probably one of the best things we could do. Versus, especially because of Simon's Cat, which was very expensive. Was very popular, and Underwater Realm, which was very expensive. We needed a secret weapon, and we had one in Viscera. So that was great, and I think the audience really did like her.
Yeah, they did. They seemed to respond quite well. I mean, what was quite interesting in terms of the audience is how little knowledge there is of web series. Even you mentioned the Guild, which is just ridiculously large.
And five people had seen it.
Yeah, exactly.
We had a show of hands, and it was sort of Tumbleweed came past when I said, "Who knows what web series are?"
Which is a series about gamers, and they go to Comic-Con and they do cosplay, and nobody at Comic-Con had ever heard of them, which is, I mean, if they haven't heard of the Guild, then what hope is there for
Or they were
for
too
all the
shy to
others,
admit
anyway?
it.
Or they were too shy, yeah, maybe. So it's quite good because interacting with people and educating people and bringing potentially, hopefully, a new audience to web series.
Going back to the Bloody Mary show, Darren, as the writer, creator, tell us what it's about.
Oh God, I hate pitching. Okay, right. The actual show itself takes the American urban legend of Bloody Mary, it's a child's dare game, which is where you summon her, you say her name 3 times in a mirror, and she's supposed to come and kill you. Now, what would be the point of that? You would not learn anything. She's actually lovely. So this is Bloody Mary on her time off. Normally spent in a pub called Hemingway's with her equally sort of supernatural friends, and it's their adventures. A soap opera with monsters.
And when did you film it?
We filmed it last. It was
About this time last
yeah.
year.
It was October 2011,
Yeah.
and very, very sort of nerve-wracking. Vicky came on. We originally had another director who was supposed to bring in his crew. And I won't say which company he worked with, it was a photographer that he worked for, and would not be given time off to shoot the actual show. So we'd got everything into place, and it was like, oh no, we don't have a director. We have a fortnight before we shoot. This fabulous creature of the night came in and saved the entire production. So I doff my invisible hat to this
I
woman.
do have a superhero shirt under here. I'm blushing. It was kind of a weird conflagration of circumstances, or confluence of circumstances. Conflagration, that would be bad. Basically, the production designer on Bloody Mary had worked with us on a short film we'd done about a month earlier. And so he just suggested us to Darren, and we were free for a bit in October last year, so we just kind of came on board. And what brought us to it was the writing of it, I think, and the concept of the environment, because you've got a very kind of supernatural, obviously a set of supernatural characters and a supernatural environment, which can all go a little bit kind of aerated and random, but it's held together with really strong relationships and very strong kind of character-driven circumstances. So, which is it's quite interesting to us. So, we were happy to come on board.
Vicky, you've actually directed another British web series called The Syndicate.
I have indeed, yes.
Was there anything from that experience that you could bring to directing Bloody Mary show?
Sorry, she brought too much.
My favourite quote from Darren of the whole time is that he said to me, "I wrote Rainbow, and you directed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre," and I love that.
I have no memory of saying
remember
that.
it. I swear he said it.
I don't doubt your word. Sort of that entire filming session was one blur.
But I mean, yes. I mean, we can talk about the Syndicate again, but
Not on my clock.
No, exactly. You see, so I'll talk about Bloody Mary now. We'll come back to episode 3, The Syndicate. But I mean, that has a lot of similarities in a way, in terms of it's ostensibly about serial killers, but it's actually about family, in the way that Bloody Mary is ostensibly about, supernatural craziness, and is actually about the relationships and very solid, real life in supernatural circumstances, in a way. Pulling together a production, because the way that we shot that was very, very low budget again, and on very limited timescales and with limited locations and so forth. And so, pulling that together really kind of gave us a strong background for coming in at such short notice, to do this. But it is a testament to the way that everything was set up. You had so much in place already, that we were able to just kind of step in and, just kind of do the last tidying up bit, kind of, well, not even tidying up, but just kind of, I don't know, the frilly bit. And then Luke all superhero.
You decoupaged. I built the cupboard, you decoupaged it.
Yeah, we stenciled.
Yes, absolutely. You made it look so pretty. Thank you.
And Darren, how long was the casting process? How did you find your actors?
Now, Holly Taylor, who plays Bloody Mary, the show was kind of written for Holly. I'd worked with Holly on a short film called The Maids, which she had done with Rebecca Falconbury, and I'm sure you could probably insert clip now. Clip over. Okay, right. This was a show this was a sort of a 5-minute sketch show reel for Holly and Rebecca. And I, around the time, was working on a short film which was originally called Winifred, which was about a character who you see when you have sleep paralysis. Now, through the rewrites, and essentially, I mean, something that we could talk about is marketing, because how I looked at it when I was researching was Bloody Mary was a much more recognizable character. So I created Bloody Mary knowing what Holly's strengths were, knowing that she could do tough, but she could also be incredibly sympathetic and incredibly sort of like a kitten in boxing gloves. That's a great way of describing Holly. And so that was just sort of, that was it. Casting as well. The next after Holly was Erica, who played Samantha. she was the next person on board. Through Samantha, we met Tom, who was in a film called Love Bug together. Through Tom, we met Elizabeth, who plays Viscera. And through Holly, we met Jenny, who played the original Malevolent. And Richie is Holly's partner, who plays Amicus. And then finally, we had Craig. It kind of sounds incestuous, but it wasn't. But it was great as well that because we didn't have a lot of time for rehearsal, that these relationships were already formed. And I think that comes across on screen.
I think it does, yeah.
So that was the sort of, the casting process.
Vicky, with your experience on the Syndicate, as having that's actually been released and it's out there, and obviously you've had to do the marketing for that, was there any advice you were able to give to Darren on how to market a web series?
Not really. Actually, he should be giving advice to us. He's very full on with the marketing. I mean, seriously, you are. You're always kind of, finding the new angles and being very. He was very clear from the beginning about your demographic, and when we were shooting, this character is aimed at this demographic, and this character is aimed at this demographic, and we need to have this character do this because that will appeal more to this demographic, which sounds quite cynical, but is actually very savvy because that's so important with anything, but especially with web series where, as we've seen today, hardly anybody knows what they are, and there's so much content online. If something is, which Mary at the moment is going out through YouTube, and that's just it's literally like looking for needles, and it's not even a stack. It's like a world of hay. So you've got to be very savvy about where you're aiming it at, what you're trying to achieve with it. And I think you're kind of fairly on the ball with that. And in terms of finding things like Facebook-specific, Hey Facebook adverts, and looking at analytics and so forth. So, yeah, he should really be instructing us in a lot of ways. Although the two series are very different.
I think sort of regarding marketing is, it's very it is a full-time job in itself. Yeah. And because I already have another job, I have been lax. However, people like some of the actors, Craig, I cannot fart anything to do with Bloody Mary, and Craig will tweet it. It's like, oh look, Darren farted at Bloody Mary show. He's sort of, he is incredibly media savvy. This is a guy who takes his shirt off in a photo, and his Twitter followers go straight up. So he's actually a great way of marketing it. We are trying to get some of the other actors to do interviews and things like that. They're very reticent. Something, hopefully, come on, you can do it. You want to. It'll really help us. So it's an ongoing process, and because the thing is online, people can come in and watch it at any time. It's not like we are going to get rid of the episodes. They will be out there. We are going onto Blip. I mean, the thing sort of when we first started with YouTube, how YouTube partnership stuff works is it was completely new to me, and I was at the BAFTA Short Filmmakers Market. And a person from YouTube was there who is no longer with the company. And because she was American, I just said, look, I'm working on a show. It's about Bloody Mary. She immediately said, sign here. We hadn't actually filmed anything. It was the concept. Yeah. So she immediately, and God bless her, because she was American, she was aware of the legend, which was always a stumbling block in Britain, because you talk about Bloody Mary, it's like, what, the Queen? And it's like, I said, oh, Mary Queen of Scots. It's like, well, it wasn't Mary Queen of Scots.
So in that case, I mean, have you looked then at your YouTube statistics and seen how people find you? Is Bloody Mary as a search term really, does that work the most for you? I'm going to be honest, I've looked at the YouTube creator book, and it's like being shouted at in Esperanto. I would really like, it would be, and this is my own fault for being, I am older than most web series creators. I am learning. It's like, oh, I can do this, can I? It's
producing a show has been possibly the steepest learning curve I have ever had. But right now, nothing. I could sort of, drive a dump truck full of money to me. I will happily make season 2 right now. Are you on board? So yeah, it was such a huge, massive learning curve, and this learning curve continues to go up. I'll scale it, but you've got to give me a little bit more time. But marketing, you cannot market your web series enough. You really cannot. Couple of sort of, you've got a blog with 10 readers. Those 10 readers will tell other people. So it is like branching out. We've had some really good feedback. We are hopefully nominated for a few awards. But I'm not going to touch wood about that. But we'll see.
How easy is it to do comedy? Because obviously with a worldwide audience, comedy can be very specific.
It can. Well, the rule with comedy is you play it straight, isn't it? Because if you're laughing at your own stuff, nobody else will, because it just becomes in jokes, and people. Comedy needs to be kind of inclusive, I think. You need to always be in on the joke. And if it feels at any point that you're outside of the joke, that's when you lose interest. That's when it's not funny. So yeah, it's just about absolute. You play it as straight drama, and it's funny because it's intrinsically funny.
I can, for the life of me, I cannot write a one-liner. I honestly cannot. I can write you a comedic situation, but you come knocking at my door for a one-liner. It's very rare that I can do that. Now, I take my hat off to people who can do that. I will not be able to write you a sitcom. I can write you a comedic drama. This is something that I've talked to people about. It's like, why have you got sort of, a joke about, crack-addled prostitutes has got thousands and thousands of views, and you've only got so many, and why has this sort of gone viral? And it's like, I think that's a difference between sketch comedy and a web series, which nobody really talks about, and it is something that we don't have to be ashamed about. Yes, somebody's sketch may go viral, but it's a one-off sketch. Everybody loved being a dickhead's cool. That's sort of, the hipster thing. How much other stuff has that person done? You're asking with a web series, you're asking for a commitment, and you will quite possibly not get the commitment of people who can watch a sort of, a 2-minute long viral. You're asking people to devote sort of, sometimes hours of their time to actually watch that. So I kind of went into this knowing that that the show would not go viral to begin with, and it would take time, and I was prepared for that. If you're going in there thinking, I'm just suddenly going to make huge amounts of money for this, and Hollywood's going to come calling, you are going to fall, and it will hurt when you land. Be honest, don't expect sort of, to fart and money to come out. If it happens, and it's brilliant, and I tip my hat, but be prepared to do some hard work once the show's done as well, But writing comedy, I cannot do.
I can't do it either. I can't do stand-up at all.
I did stand up in my 20s, and I chickened out. But
I think it's really hard writing sketch comedy, writing sitcoms, or I've been part of a I think there were about 8 or 9 of us writing a sitcom pilot a couple of years ago, and it's really, really hard to be deliberately funny. And I think the people that can do that, and some people can do it, they're just, automatically funny. I think that's a gift in itself, and to be able to do, to be able to do that kind of instant funniness that stand-up or sketch comedy or whatever requires. Yeah, I don't have that brain.
But they are sort of, something like some of the web series, some of the YouTube superstars out there, we are different, and I'm not I'm really quite happy to sort of, stand next to them and say, hi, I love your work, but don't think, it sounds really, don't think you're better than me. I was always taught a long time ago that sort of, I'm better than no one and no one's better than me. We're all doing different things, which is why the web series community, when it's at its best, is incredibly close and incredibly supportive. And you should try this interdependency, I guess, is such a terrible word. It makes it sound like the Borg, but but sort of, there are times when it is tough out there, and it's great to know that you're not alone, and there is a community out there, and it's great that we do pull together as a community. And when we all sort of, 10, 15 years time, when we're all living in LA, snorting cocaine out of golden Tupperware, we'll be all sort of, still all happy together sort of thing. That's the dream.
So what's the future for the Bloody Mary show?
Series 2.
Dun, dun, dun.
What is the future for the Bloody Mary show? We shall see. Only time will tell. But it's all in here, and I have given myself, if you are watching this in April 2013,
In the future,
and I don't have at least first draft of the show out, please email me on info@bloodymaryshow.com and say, what the hell are you playing at? There you go. I have given sort of,
Oh,
there you go. That is an
Deadline,
ultimatum. I've
ultimatum.
given myself a deadline of April 2013.
okay.
Cool. Well, final plug for the website, and thank you very much. TheBloodyMaryShow.com, I believe.
BloodyMaryShow.com.
.com.
It does just lose the. And also we got on Facebook, Facebook.com, Bloody Mary Show. Follow us on Twitter. We're at Bloody Mary Show. Anything that we can attach Bloody Mary Show to, just do that. That's where we are. Hopefully this is now appearing at the bottom. BloodyMaryShow.com. Thank you.
Darren, Vicky, thank you very much.
Cheers. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks.
Welcome, Philip and Timon. How are you guys?
Yeah, doing very well, thank you.
Very well, thank you.
Good. So you've just filmed 10 episodes of your web series, The Vessel. Tell us a bit about the story of The Vessel.
It's about a gay couple that have decided that they want a child. They kind of approach their best friend. They think that she would be the ideal mother of their child.